Welcome back to the unofficial Squarespace Entrepreneur Podcast. My name is Omari Harabin, and if this is your first time listening, this show is all about building a business on Squarespace, particularly businesses that serve the users of Squarespace. So if that sounds like you, then you're in the right place. Today I'm talking with Sam Crawford about the Six Figure Design Club. I had Sam on the show earlier this year when he was going through the beta period. And I thought I'd have him back on because since then, he's not only launched the Six Figure Design Club, but the students who have gone through it have had really great results. I got to meet Sam at Circle Day this past August, and he's a really funny guy in person. And I was really inspired by, the talks that we had in person. And then I remember asking him, hey, how can I get in the course? And he's like, hey, you got to pay like everyone else and you got to do it soon because the price is going up. And, the price did go up, but I jumped in the course after a few coaching calls where people who were in the course told me, that they'd gotten so much value out of it. And so I thought, all right, well, I'll check it out for myself because I definitely like recommending and referring people to things that are in fact valuable and useful. And so I got to see for myself that what Sam has really put together here is a really transformational course. And so my first question for you today, Sam, is what has been the biggest shift in perspective for you in your business and personally over the past 5 years that has brought you to where you are?
Off with. Um, well, first off, thanks for having me on again. I really appreciate it. The, the biggest shift for me was realizing that you need to sort of become the person who. So you can't just set goals and expect to be able to work towards them on day one. So it took me, I'd say, 4 years of sort of setting goals, failing it, even starting on those goals, setting them again, trying to change behaviors. It took me 4 years of doing that until I became someone who was sort of worthy of those goals, or someone who basically, if I, let's say you want to go to the gym, but currently you don't, you're not a person who goes to the gym. It is weird for you to go to the gym. You're going to have so much resistance to going and getting fit. Whereas after, let's just say me, 4 years, after 4 years, it would be weird not to go to the gym. So hopefully that makes sense.
No, it
But
does.
that was the biggest shift to me, is that you have to strive instead of straight towards the goal, because it's just not that simple. You have to strive to become someone who that goal is just normal life for. So you
Mm,
almost have to act in accordance with the person
mhm.
who has already achieved that goal, if that makes any sense.
Of
But
course.
yeah, it was something that it only hit me, I'd say, about six months ago. I was like, oh, not, you sort of look back and well, you saw it the other day because you commented on it. Like, I don't really tell my story that often,
hmm
just because I don't appreciate it. I didn't appreciate the shift in personality, the shift in just who I was, until you look back and you go, oh, okay, so that's how I achieved it, is because I changed, my entire being, or my entire essence, I guess. Um, yeah, and so when I looked back, I was like, oh, right, now it makes sense. But it's only looking back that it ever does make sense. It's yeah, it's crazy, man. But that I would say that was the biggest thing for me.
Wow. It's funny because when I saw you at Circle Day, you said something similar where you're like, I'm who I wanted to become, basically. That was what I got in the moment. And I
Yeah.
resonated with it in person because I was like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And listening to you break it out, um, I'm like in a very similar place right now where I realized, oh, okay, there has been a transformation. Like, oh, I'm now the person who I used to dream to become. And it's not there's no question of it. Like the work has proven itself. But it could only have been through the work. It couldn't have been through any other means. Um, but then I feel like that last hurdle is like accepting the fact that, oh, there's a becoming, like there's a different
Yeah,
person that you have to embody, that the previous you would have just like, been enamored by perhaps. Um,
100%. So when like a receipt spike in like a restaurant, and they put all the receipts on there. It's almost like you need to fill all those receipts up until you
mhm.
look and you've got this irrefutable evidence that you are now this person. If you just had a few little receipts on there, you could chalk it down to fluke. If you ever achieved like a big project, for instance, if
Yeah.
we take it like to like Squarespace specifically. If you got a big project or some really good feedback, it's like, okay, one or two times,
Hmm.
that's not going to shift who I am. But if you have this big stack of receipts of like big project, great feedback, big project, great feedback, featured on Squarespace, all of this, it's like, okay, right. So that's who I am now. Like you can no longer deny the shift in identity to yourself. And I guess once you accept that, it all becomes, well, it all falls into place a lot easier, I'd say.
Yeah, I've thought about it like I once upon a time had a lot of faith, a lot of uh a lot of belief in something that I couldn't see. And now all of that faith has turned into conviction. So now I don't have any faith. But
Yeah, yeah.
I got a lot of conviction, and the belief that was in something that was invisible, well, now I don't even have to believe, it's visible outside of me. And
Yeah,
so now I've gone back to my inner belief, like, okay, well, what does this looks like? What does this look like for the next level? Like,
that's the
uh,
hard part, isn't it? Trying to look forward instead of
um,
backwards.
what do I envision now? Well, I also reached a place recently where I realized how much opportunity there always is in every single time, period,
Mm,
ever. And it's all dependent on perspective. There's always more people whose needs aren't being met than there are people needs are being met. There's
mm,
always work that needs to happen under the surface that is invisible to people on the surface. That that's where everything dwells, right? Like the future that is going to become a reality one day. Right now, it's just in the imaginations of a few,
mm,
right? And it's those collective imaginations that congeal into a future reality. And you could either be a part of it, or you cannot be a part of it. But it definitely starts with seeing it for yourself and realizing your own vision of yourself for yourself. And then I think it becomes easier to see a vision for others or see a vision for a wider community, which is what I've seen with the Six Figure Design Club, which is what inspired me about it, is the fact that um, you took your own success and you didn't stop. You said, "All right, well, I know if I could do it, it's possible for others." So tell me about the Six Figure Design Club. That was the first reason I invited you on the show. Was, you said you had the receipts and everything. Now you have receipts of people who've gone through your program and who've gotten results and who are getting results in real time and who will get results in the future because um and like that's just how it goes. So like
yeah, man.
um I have a couple of questions on it. Some of them are selfish questions for myself, but others hopefully the audience will get something out of. But what were your like lead-in inspirations going into creating the course?
Yeah, okay. Well, that's probably my favorite question because like so many people ask me this. It's like, well, the first way they'll ask it is, well, if it works, why don't you just do it yourself? And it's like there's so much work out there, and the the demand for that work far outstrips the supply. And I was like, well, no one that I knew at least, I mean, there probably is other courses like this, but I couldn't see anyone who was just like here is the simplest way to get to a sum. So I'm saying to people, you can go from wherever you are to 100K per year in 12 months. And it's such a simple offer. And it's like, it's very prescriptive. So it says, this is the way that you can set up a portfolio. This is the exact pitch you can send to a client that works. This is the exact way to run a project. This is all the software to use. It's see, my gripe with a lot of education is it's very um, theoretical. And so I always learn best when someone says, I've done this. This is the way it works exactly for me. Just, just do exactly what I do and you'll succeed. I like that, almost like that proof
Mm.
and that guarantee. So I was like, well, why don't I just make something that everyone could, or anyone, should I say, could just come into and within a couple of months could get results from. And so I set about doing it basically. And it's funny that you talk about like the last time we were talking about receipts, and the only receipts that I had were sort of my own. Because I think when we spoke, I don't even think I'd launched it, had I? It was still
No,
sort of in the
it was,
works,
yeah, it's in
which is
development.
crazy, man. Yeah. So yeah, and I was coming on and saying, yeah, I do this, I do this, I do this, which is great because it proves that the sort of the methods work. Um, but now there's, I think there's 122 members. I think I checked it this morning. It's about 122 members. And if you go on to sixfiguredesign.club, you'll see, I call it the wins wall. And it's
Hmm.
just screenshots and screenshots and screenshots of people saying, oh, I've done a 10K week. Oh, I've just landed my first ever project. Oh, I've just invoiced for, I think there was one for 7K last week, something like that. And these receipts are the best kind of receipts that you can get because it's all well and good having the knowledge in your head and being able to apply it. But the hardest thing that I've ever done is trying to convey that to other people as simply as possible so they can actually just action it straight away. And so to have all of these receipts, it's like, I, I don't know, it gives me such a sense of pride to have
Yeah,
like this. I think there's probably about 30 or 40 screenshots, and that's only a small snippet, really. So,
yeah.
and I think at the time of recording now, we've been just under we've been live for just under 4 months. So hopefully on the next podcast we do, we'll have hundreds more.
Well, you said something there towards the end that translating the results that you've gotten for yourself and trying to convey that in the simplest way is the hardest work you've ever done. Did I get that correctly?
100%. Yeah, it's so difficult, and I think it's why a lot of, if you look at like athletes, some of the greatest athletes are terrible coaches. And that was my. I'm not saying like I'm like the Cristiano Ronaldo of Squarespace, but like
You
it's
just said
it's
it.
hard. Yeah, yeah. Don't quote that. But like it's all well and good being good at something, but being able to coach it is a completely different ball game. And so that was the one thing I was super nervous about.
Yeah, so the reason I said these questions are selfish is because I've had a parallel experience in a way
Mm,
where I always thought that in order to coach on something, I had to be the best player of that thing.
yeah.
And so that kind of put me in kind of a limiting box because like if I'm the best player of a thing, then it was kind of incongruent with actually coaching, right?
Mm,
And so I'm just kind of like at this point where I've reached where you probably were 6 months ago with like, okay, I can actually communicate the aspects of my work that anyone can replicate consistently and get better results than me.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's something I wasn't able to do before. So, like for example, when the pandemic came around, I was just like, man, I can't attribute any success to myself right now because there's a pandemic and people are just starting businesses and building
Mm,
websites. That has nothing to do with me, you know. But now that that's finished, I'm like, oh, okay, so now I know exactly what's me and what's, the external forces. And the part that's me or whatever, it's not necessarily unique to me either. I have a unique expression of it, but there are principles that I abide by that if anyone else abides by these principles, they'll get the same exact results. So my challenge has been taking a lot of my like conceptual ideas and turning them into, like you said, like actionable things. Like, hey, just do this, da, 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 and you'll get this. Da, 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 da. Um, and now it's like watching you and seeing how you've done it. It's very much reflective of how I would do it if I were you. I'm not you, but like with my experience, which is in a slightly different realm, but still, I think what you've done with creating this focal point too around the first mile, that six-figure milestone, is it gives people like a place to almost like a focal point of belief where it's like, okay, this is where people who believe that they're going to do this, and so they do it. And it's kind of
Mhm.
like the first minute or the first 4 minute mile story where it's like, after the first one, like it just opens up the gateway for others. And then the last thing you said, well, it's not the last, it's actually the first thing you said, is that there's so much demand out there. And I think that kind of mindset where, like there's always more demand than there is supply, because people are silently like suffering with things. They're waiting and hoping for someone to like come out of nowhere and say, hey, listen, here's how you can step by step accomplish this goal. Like, just do this. I'll support you along the way. Like that like it's in abundance. Like I'll give you an exercise I gave myself this week, which I thought was pretty useful. I
Mhm.
wrote down some dream emails that I wish someone just would send me and say, it's like someone would just hit me up and say, hey, Omari, have you been struggling with XYZ? I'm not going to say what XYZ is, but this is my dream. This is what I like did. I wrote it out. Um, how would you like me to help you accomplish XYZ. Da, 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 da. And I just wrote out this dream email, and I was like, okay, this is what a good offer looks like, that comes out of nowhere, right? What is my version of this? What is something that I could give as a gift, or that I could, serve and scale, where I can say, hey, have you been struggling with XYZ? And it became kind of clear to me. But anyway,
That's so smart. No, I really like that. I'm gonna steal it from my marketing emails.
oh yeah. So yeah, speaking of marketing emails, I've been going through like a transformation where it's like I've sent hundreds of emails over the years,
Yeah.
and in the beginning it was always very agonizing for me. Like it's been just an agonizing experience every time, because um, I'm an introverted person by nature. And
Mm.
so putting myself in front of people in a vulnerable way has always been a challenge, and always been like a fear. And the fear has always been judgment, like, oh, what are people going to think? Are they going to think this or that? And when you don't know what people are thinking, you tend to fill in the blanks. And if you're not filling
Yeah.
in the blanks in a nice way to yourself, then it's going to create cycles of self-sabotage and feelings of like failure, inadequacy, or just a whole lot of stuff you don't want to experience. So I realized recently, I'm like, oh, okay, I now understand what kind of muscle I've built up through this exercise over the years of sending all these marketing emails, blah, blah, blah. And it's like a presumption, and it's a filling in the blanks before like they exist. And what I mean is like always talking to one person and speaking to them in the way that you would like to be spoken to. Um, which I guess is like what I did with that exercise. But I
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah.
yeah,
I like
just
that.
just consistently trying to practice that until you're literally, talking to maybe like a past version of yourself, which is essentially what you're doing with Six Figure Design Club. So my last
Yeah,
question with this, my bad, go ahead, finish.
no, no, I was going to say that it's exactly what I do. Is you're speaking to the person maybe 2 years ago, and it's hard. You have to analyze your own behaviors to be like, oh, so what was successful? Like, if something didn't work, why didn't it work? And what you've done there with the filling in the blanks and speaking to one particular person is like that's so smart. I need to take. I think I need to take more heed of that. To be honest.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like right now what I'm doing, which is the challenge, is like I've got a decent sized email list as my main kind of like newsletter outlet, but there's
Mm,
so many different types of people on there, so many different personality types, so many different ways that people like to consume information, so many different interests, so many different points in their business journeys, etc. And
mm,
so I unnecessarily like see whatever I can do to like try to cover as many bases as possible, but it's just not reality. Like you just,
yeah.
it's just if you mapped out everything I just explained, like those are so many different types of people. So one of my projects right now is like, well, I am familiar with very different parts of this journey. I am familiar with very different personality types. How can I take that now and create more focused um, email experiences? So the person who is perhaps just at the beginning of their journey and trying to make that first, 5K month, not even the 10K yet, they're just kind of like, hey, I just want to get my first couple of clients to the
Mm,
person who is they've got a thriving client business and now they're looking to transition into digital products. Like I've I've taken kind of like this roundabout journey where when I started squarespacethemes.com, my storyline was that I was already retired from client work at that point in time in the beginning.
yeah.
I was always trying to get out the game before I even got in the game. Um, so I never actually grew a client-based business as a Squarespace freelancer, designer, anything like that.
Mm,
Which has been a funny experience for me because it's like, well, I'm surrounded by all of these people who that's what they're trying to do, and I've
yeah.
just kind of swung on by through the other lane. Um, like you're at the airport and like you're taking this like VIP lane and everyone's looking at you like, how are you doing that VIP thing? You're just
That's
kind of,
you.
yeah, I
Fair.
guess. Like, but I was hiding though too at the same time. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I feel a little
Well,
guilty about that. But um, it, now I can't hide from it. It's just the facts. But that was because I started my Squarespace business with the intention of going straight to digital products. So
mm,
it just took me a long time to get to that, and I had to actually go the client route to get there. And what I discovered was that um, the best digital product ideas come directly from your client work. So
100%.
so like where I'm at now, it's like I've jumped all the way back into a different kind of client work where I'm coaching, but from that I'm getting new product ideas. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because if I sit down and just try to come up with ideas, I can come up with stuff, but like those things never work. Never ever
Yeah.
work. They might entertain me and hold my interest for a bit, but the things that do work are uh, in response to present demand. Things that are solution oriented, that people are searching out solutions for on a daily basis. Those are the things that work. And if you miss that, you miss the whole thing. Um, Once you do that, then you can like play with your ideas and stuff. But I've spent a few years just playing with ideas, and I'm like, man, you got to go back to that first idea.
I'm the same though. Like I so this is one of the main reasons why because people have said to me, oh, Sam, like the design club thing, it's doing like so well already. Why don't you just go all in on that? And the reason that I don't want to do that is because, like you say, the client work is where you pick up all of all of your ideas, all of the best insights, because you, in a sense, are your target customer. So for you, when like you've done the Lightbox plugin, for instance, you may be like, oh, I'm trying to build a Squarespace website and I want something to pop up. Oh, you can't do that in Squarespace. Well, I'm going to make the solution. For me, it was like, you know, I just wish someone would tell me exactly what I need to do to get to where I need to
Mhm.
go. Like, okay, well, I'll just do that. Uh, and even now, like I'm adding things to the workshops and the like the main curriculum, and I'm doing daily posts in the community and all of this. If I just signed out of doing client work, like my edge would just be completely blunt,
Yep.
and I wouldn't have the like I would not be of worth to the people that I coach. And so I think if you do want to create a product, like even template sellers, for instance, imagine they had signed out a year ago and they missed Fluid Engine, and now everyone is doing Fluid Engine templates and it blows them out the water and they can no longer sell any templates. They'd be forced to dip back in. So you
Hmm.
may as well keep that edge sharp and stay on the platform. That's the way I think of it, at least.
Yeah, same. That's actually now that I think about it, that's actually the lesson of today's Squarespace Guru email.
Ah,
It
cool.
it's if you're not familiar, the Squarespace Guru email series, it's about the 7 ingredients to becoming a Squarespace guru. And the third ingredient is conversations, and specifically conversations with your clients, because that's where you get the best insights.
Mhm.
Because those are insights that you can act on immediately and get an immediate return on. And you can, convert that into an asset of some sort where it now not only serves you, but it serves other people in the same business that you're in. And that, that's what you're doing, Sam, where, yeah, sure, you're a great Squarespace designer, but you're saying, hey, listen, I'm also going to serve other Squarespace designers as well. And I'm not going to give up, what I'm doing, because that's how you serve, because you have that inside
Exactly.
experience of doing the same thing.
Exactly. And, it also kind of proves the concept that there is still ample work. Because I'll be honest, I was a little bit afraid at the beginning. I was like, if this does go as well as I'm thinking it will go, am I just going to teach myself out of work? But then, like the opposite has happened. So since launch, um, my income just through by Crawford has almost doubled.
Mhm.
And it made me think back to how I used to revise for tests at school and university. And it was like, you can read all the textbooks and make all your notes, but the best way to make it stick and to learn a topic inside out is to,
Teach it.
yeah, exactly. So you'd get all your notes and then, you'd maybe double up with a partner and teach it to them. And if you can teach it to someone in layman's terms as simply as possible, then you understand it. But if you're still using jargon and all the technical language, then you don't have a coherent grasp of it. And so I think by being able to teach it, it made me an even better designer and unlocked an even higher level of income. So I've almost had like this free pass to my own education, which has been insane. But just to go back right to the beginning, like the the demand is just it's just ridiculous. You do think, oh God, is there that much work? And then you speak to people who have like five, 6,000 leads coming through a year, something like that, and you think, oh right, okay, I'm sure there's enough for all of us.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that I've seen is that the opportunity that you create is the fact that um, like everyone has a unique skill set and a unique offering and a unique perspective, and are going to cater to a different client in a different way. So, like there's never any shortage of opportunity for you as an individual. There is a shortage if you try to be Sam or if you try to be,
Yeah, yeah.
someone else, because then it's like, well, how you can't really cut into Sam because you just can't be Sam. But
But
if you
that's true.
but if you're you, that's something that Sam can't be, and that's something no other designer can be. And there's a client out there that's looking for you because there's other designers that are not for them. So the
That's the
more,
thing.
yeah, the more
Sorry,
you are. Go ahead. Yeah, my bad.
just gonna no, I was just gonna say one little thing is like you can teach everyone the exact same thing, and everything else being equal, the client may just like you as a person. So like just don't try to echo what you've said, don't try and be someone else, don't try and be me, don't try and be you, as in you or Mari, whoever's listening to this, do try and be you. But like, you know, you are the deciding factor, everything else being equal. And I think that's something to really hammer home is don't try and be and try and be somebody you're not.
Really quick, if you're interested in the Six Figure Design Club and you'd like to experience the first module, you can check out sixfiguredesign.club. And if you do, in fact, register for the course, you will get a free coaching session with me. All you have to do is shoot me a quick email and let me know that you are, in fact, registered for sixfiguredesign.club, and I will schedule that coaching call. Back to the episode. Now, listen, that is very difficult. Okay.
Mm,
um, because
mm,
I know that it's like easy advice to give when you've become yourself, but when you're trying to figure out how do I be the thing that I want to be, it can be kind of like, well, what do you mean? Like like myself doesn't have the skills, or myself, currently is ignorant to something or naive or whatever. How do I just be me and still like accomplish this goal of the success that I'm not attaining right now? And the way forward is through honesty and trust in the fact that whoever you're dealing with, whoever you're going into a client relationship with, you want some kind of respect and open transparency where they can actually empathize or just kind of understand, okay, yeah, sure, this is this for you, so I'm not, they can set better expectations. You can set better expectations. You can fulfill on those expectations easier when you're honest about where you are in your journey right now. Right. So you don't have to necessarily like, because I think people go through a lot of stress when you try to fake it to make it.
mm.
And stress is important. You got to go through stress to grow. um, but there's also other ways to grow as well, where this is where we get really zen, uh, um, where you don't feel the stress, right? Like it's happening, the growth is happening, but you don't feel the stress. You feel the sense of flow, and fluidity. And that's because you're just being. That's what being feels like. It feels fluid. It feels like water. But when you're trying to be something else, that's when you get kind of stuck. And so the way forward is just being true. There are people who respect you and who will honor you and who will even appreciate you and increase your value rapidly when they recognize you as being a true individual and someone who is open in that kind of way. And yeah, I had to share that because it's taken me a long time to be able to articulate that for
Mm.
myself, you know, because that was one of my struggles on the client service side of things is never quite showing up as myself. And so, oh man, I'm about to share something with you, Sam, and our audience that might be useful. um,
Go for it. Go for it.
Looking back, I realized I treated a lot of my project work like a one night stand. It's just like a one project engagement. All right, boom, I'm done. I'm on to the next. And what I
Mhm.
realized is that I missed out on a whole lot of value that I could have created if if I was a little bit more confident in who I was going into those client or project relationships, where instead of feeling afraid that, oh man, I'm gonna mess this up or I'm gonna disappoint this client in some way, let me just get out as quickly as possible, or I don't even really like this client to begin with. Why am I in this? If I had gone into them with a more long-term mindset and accepting of myself in the present, then I probably wouldn't have needed that many clients to even, fulfill my income goals. I
Mhm.
might have been able to not have to rely on, a continual stream, and I could have figured out a way where I could just grow with the clients that I had because I loved them and I enjoyed them and they loved me and they enjoyed me, and we had a mutual relationship or a value exchange where I can see opportunities for them. I could help them fulfill and achieve those opportunities. They could reinvest in more opportunity, and that's something I just wasn't. I didn't have anyone to tell me, "Hey, Omari, uh, listen, this thing doesn't just end next month when you hit your short-term goal. Like it keeps going. There's years that are at play here. So now that I'm aware of that, I'm less I'm more at peace or more accepting of the fact that I'm not going to be for everyone. I'm not going to be the best. And I've always known that, which has been an asset as well. But, I'm not going to be the best for everyone, but there are a select few who will be able to grow with me indefinitely. And those are the kinds of people who I want to invest my time with. And naturally, those are the people who will invest their time with me as well. So, hopefully that was useful to somebody. um, Let me know what you
I
think
think
about that,
it's really
Sam.
important. Yeah, I think that is such an important point to give. So you don't want to constantly be stuck in fight or flight, which a lot of people go into a project thinking is like, okay, like you say, this is a one-time engagement, an in and out job, Bob's your uncle done. And the way I approach it now, after years of trial and error, is I offer a client at the end of the project 30 days of free email support. So, anything goes awry or if I missed anything in the handover training, they can just email me. And then what this does is obviously it builds a lot of goodwill, but it also gets the client used to just being able to contact you. And, if anything does crop up, they feel comfortable messaging you. And what I always say to people is the clients that you get and the clients that you have, they will become one of the most important pillars for your growth because it's it's not only them coming back to you for more work, but realistically, if this client likes you and they're a business owner, they know other business owners and they like those business owners who in turn will probably like the way you do things as well. So these clients are going to not only come back to you for more work, driving your revenue up, they're going to be your best salespeople. So they're going to go away and tell other people, oh, this is the guy that's done our website. And if they have another business, they may be like, okay, we love O'Malley so much, we want him to do this other website and then this other website. And in the end, it becomes this, and it's not for everyone, but it becomes a relationship where you're almost like friends with past clients. So to give a couple of examples, I think you may have spoken to him at Circle Day as well. Kareem, one of my clients, he was at Circle Day, and I actually got to meet him there. And we sat on the same table a couple of days, and it was great, and we were just like friends. But the business Kareem works for, we've now worked on 4 different websites together, and they got me in to do like a workshop to all of their circle, which is like a non-profit um, convention, I guess. So I've done a workshop for them, and then they recommend me to tons of other non-profits in their sector. And this is just from me being nice to the client. This wasn't even any particular skill. And I said to him, Kareem, why did you go with me? And he said, he called it a bedside manner. He just said, well, because, you were the only one who took the time to actually speak with us, not about business. You know, you sit down, you build a little bit of rapport for 10, 15 minutes, and that makes all the difference. Like, you know, approach it like it's longer term. And like you said, not just a one night stand where it's transactional. It's you go in, okay, what's your budget? How long is it going to be until you need it? Okay, done. That's it. We don't speak again. And I think that's a really, really important point to hammer home is there's so much more long term potential to every client that you encounter.
Yeah, because I mean, those clients, I'm sure they intend to stay in business indefinitely,
Yeah.
um, and their needs are going to grow. And like you said, that referral base is your customers and your clients are your number one sales and marketing people.
Mhm.
No
Exactly.
doubt about it. I used to think that was just like a thing people said, but but now I'm one of the people who say it. So Um, but yeah, I like how you broke that down in an actionable way because the another take on that action is when I look back at my, for example, like my email newsletter, right? It's kind of just you buy a plugin, you fall into it. Um,
Mm,
or you join the Facebook group and you fall into it, but it's super inefficient. It's super under optimized. It is, if I were to go back in time, it is not how I would do it again. And
mm,
I say that because um, from like the product side, the digital product side, there's a tendency to not want to have to like deal with customers, so to speak, or not have to like have any interaction with the other side. You just want to like get the income and go on about your business. But like we said
mm,
earlier in the conversation, you miss out when you're not having those conversations and those interactions. And then even on the follow-up side, um, treating each quote unquote customer as a client. Oh man, I would have 17,000 clients right now. Um, right, and like this has been a pain of mine for years, where every day I'm like, man, that looks like a really interesting business, or oh man, I should probably follow up with that person just because I'm curious about the products that they sell. Or,
yeah.
oh man, and this flow happens all the time, but like I'm one person, and so I kind of just default to, all right, well, I'll just do the kind of like the blanket broadcast, which is cool, and people can still build a relationship with you that way. But it's much more effective when you treat each individual as an individual, at least for the first 100, or the first 1,000 or the
Mhm,
first, um, and then not like let up off of it. I think, um, I think any entrepreneur who was at the beginning of their business and is probably scaled very big can probably tell you that, yeah, there's a special element about that, like hand-to-hand combat, so to speak, that you engage in. And yeah, that's so I say all of that to say, um, like with starting my personal brand or my personal coaching business, I've now taken that approach where it's been 45 days, and at day 30, there's a follow-up. And there's going to be another follow-up at day 60. And,
mm,
just a continual re-engagement with the individual, right? My instinct. So last month, right, September, I did a few different workshops, a few different coaching sessions, and so on. And my default instinct would have been to just follow up with all of those people with one email and just say,
mm,
hey, da 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 da, or hey, just one blanket thing. And I was like, no, you can't do that. You've done that a million times. You know what that gets you. It's
mm,
mediocre. So instead, I went back through each individual and I followed up based off of what their specific needs were, when they bought the workshop or when they signed up for the coaching session or whatever. And I gave them something that was tailored specifically to that. And it was much more effective, than it would have been had I just done the easy thing. And so I say
Mm,
all of that to say as well that, like, as an introverted marketer, which is, I would consider myself an introvert, like, be very careful of the tendency to use marketing as a way to not engage with people, or to structure your business in a way where you just don't have to deal with people, right? I
mm,
understand if dealing with people creates a lot of, like, stress and tension and turmoil and so on. However, the only way through that is to narrow and get true with, like, you know, what makes you feel good, and being honest about these things up front, so that you can only engage with people who are receptive to that and who you feel good about engaging with, so that you don't miss out on the value and all of the richness that comes from, a client engagement where, you're really working on something meaningful with them and for them.
mm.
So be careful of that, because I've fallen into that trap several times, and now that it's clear to me, I have to, like, make it clear to others that, be careful of all of the marketing that sells you on, not dealing with people, because it can be very very appealing when you don't want to deal with people. But the
But you know what? That's it. Like it's a two-way street because it's not just you providing constant value to these people. You're not doing it out of charity. You're doing it because you get in like crazy insights from these people that are going to help you long term. They're going to make your product better. They're going to make you better at dealing with people in general, and they're going to make your business more successful. So like, you know, okay, you may not like it, but if you want your business to thrive and grow, these these are the people that are going to do it. They're literally going to do your job for you because if they're a current customer, they have the best insights that you could possibly glean. So that would be my take on it. Is like see it as a free opportunity to make your business better.
Yeah. What the Yeah. I'm gonna let that one. I'm gonna put that one down, even though I wanted to pick it back up. I'm gonna put it down. Um, Back to the course, Sam. The course development, right? So I went through a couple of the lessons, and it was very clear to me that you made these lessons in response to questions and conversations that you had. Is that correct?
Exactly, and this is this is a continuation of what we've just said. Is people I talk to people, people tell me a problem, and I try and solve it.
So, like, give me the beginning of the course, right? Like, because obviously the value has grown, tremendously since launch.
Mhm.
But from zero to launch, what was that process like? Were you going around and interviewing people? Were you doing surveys? How are you gathering that, like, initial intelligence, so to speak, to feel confident that, okay, this is ready for launch?
Yeah. So to go back like to like the very first um idea I had for it. So I was part of like a membership group, and they all knew that I did Squarespace, and they were like, "Why don't you teach other people how to do Squarespace?" And at the time, it just didn't feel right because I'm not the best designer. That's not even. But okay, I'm okay. I'm good, but there's so many better designers. Like I look at Will Myers and like Chris Schwartz Edmonston, Rach from Square Stylist. Like these are the elite designers, and I was like, these guys have courses teaching people how to be great at code and great at design. And so I was like, well, what do I add to that market? I can't solve problems that they can't. Um, and so I thought, well, let's leave that for now. And that was at the end of last year.
Mm.
And then I started. Well, I've been doing well for probably a couple of years with like the business side, and a few people had commented just sort of off the cuff, like, "Hey, how are you doing this with Squarespace? Because it's not that normal, I would say, to be doing multiple six figures through Squarespace,
Yeah.
or at least people don't think it's normal. Um, and basically, I was just helping people out. So they were like, "Hey, what do you think on this problem or this problem? Do you have any tips on this?" And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll just we'll do some messages, maybe hop on a call, whatever." And then I started up a YouTube channel in January. Started doing 3 videos a week, and then 3 accompanying blog posts a week.
Mm.
And then I was like, I quite enjoy doing these because it's just solutions. It's just like how tos on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. And I was like, I quite like being on camera. I'm getting a bit more confident. I like solving problems, and I like helping people out really. And so I was like, okay, well, what do I do that not many people do, and there's not a solution to already. And so I was like, if I could do something simple about business. Okay, business is what I'm good at. I know how to make decent money. And so I was like, okay, let's do that. And so to come on to your question about how did I research, I put my money where my mouth was, and I was like, I have a rough idea about how to convey what I do to other people. Now, I need to get people on a list so I can ask them, is this right? Because I didn't want to go down the route and say, um, this is how you do all of this, but then no one cares,
Mm-hmm.
or no one even wants to know. So I put a post in, I think it was a couple of the Facebook communities, and then I ended up building up the email list of about 200 people initially. Um, and then what I did was I started sending out free seminars every single week. So it was
Mm-hmm.
like, this is how, some of them were like 50 plus minutes long. It was like, this is all of the places that I find clients. This is how I manage projects. Like, this could have been a course in itself. It was like 12 weeks of free content. And it was like, if you sign up, you get all this free content.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I did in between that was I said to people, okay, if you like me, if you like what I'm about, I'm going to pay you $25 if you hop on a 15-minute call with me and tell me what your problems are, what you'd like to what would actually help you in a course, and then I want to run some things by you in terms of how I'm going to price it, and all the things I'm going to offer outside the video content, and I just want your honest opinions because at this point you don't have any ego attached to the product because the product doesn't even exist. It's just a list it was a list on my notes on my phone.
Yeah.
So I would hop on the call with these guys and say, hey, tell me a little bit about you. Like, what's your avatar? How old are you? How long have you been doing Squarespace? What's your story, basically? So I'd listen to the stories, and then I was like, okay, wherever you're at now, what would help you get from 0 to 1? So, what do you think is missing from your arsenal that I could fill?
Yeah.
So I got all of that. I think I hopped on about 10 or 15 calls, because Henry Purchase, the guy who done Squarespace, the Squarespace SEO plugin for anyone who's listening, he did the same. And I was like, oh, that's so smart because he got all that feedback for his plugin. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
stealing that. And it was like so effective. And then it's like, just going back to what we're saying, what we were saying before is like, customers will tell you what they want sold. And so I was like, well, why don't I just pay them to tell me even more? So I collated all of that. This was around March.
Yeah.
And then I just got to work. And then once I constructed a proper curriculum, I sent out a batch email to everyone in the newsletter saying, listen, this is the proposed curriculum. If you
Yeah.
think this is terrible, just tell me and I'm not going to be offended. So I had some feedback. Like, some people were like, this wouldn't be of benefit. Maybe try this. Some people were like, we love it. And so again, went back to the drawing board, collated all of that. And then I was like, okay, this is the core curriculum. Went away, done all the thumbnails, done all the videos, or scripts, then videos, built all of the assets, so like templates, all of the stuff you get basically on top of the video content.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that probably took like 4 or 5 months. And then we launched right at the end of June. So it was a really um, tough build up, but like the payoff in terms of like how beneficial it's already been for those people is
Yeah.
just incredible.
Yo, I really love that. And I'm glad you broke it down like that. um, for a few reasons. The last reason that came to my mind was what you said about piggybacking off of SEO Space's Squarespace plugin in terms of
Yeah.
how Henry went about that. I've been thinking a lot about that as well in terms of, what are the things uh, that developers do or marketers do on the SaaS side of things, so developing software as a service, and how can you replicate that with information as a service, or coaching as a service, or a course as a service.
Mm.
And I think that's what you've articulated. The other thing that made me really happy to hear is, so I've been doing this, like I said, I've been doing this email series on the 7 ingredients to becoming a Squarespace guru. And step number one is taking action on those small, daily problems that happen in your work, and capturing those simple how-tos. Oh, there's something I just
Mm.
did for a client. Here's how you do it. As being ingredient number one. And it's such a very simple thing to do, right? But like once you start doing it, you realize, oh, like this is useful to people, right? Like these things that
Mm.
I've kind of been just taken for granted, or maybe holding to the chest or whatever, or just thinking you don't have enough time for. It doesn't really take that much time to hit record and create a Loom video on the thing that you're going to do anyway, and then publishing it to YouTube 5 minutes later. You can get fancy
Exactly.
and add a thumbnail and all of that, but I can tell you firsthand, I've got a bunch of under optimized stuff that still works. And so
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from. I'm someone who loves to optimize, but I've learned a lot from being super under optimized, and things still working. Anyway,
Mm.
so that first ingredient in becoming a Squarespace guru is an easy one, and it doesn't take a long amount of time to start reaping the benefits and to start sharing the benefits. And then the second ingredient is going deep, and that's what you did when you said, "All right, I'm gonna find the thing that I care about, that I'm good at, that I enjoy, that I want to convey to others," which is the business side of building a Squarespace design business. And I'm just going to go deep with that, right? And that's what you did.
Mm.
You went mad deep. And by going deep means turning over those stones. And there's a little piece that I took. I told you I'm selfish with this, right? So
Yeah.
you paid people to tell you what they think about the idea of the thing you wanted to sell. Like, um to me, I thought, I didn't think of that. I wouldn't have thought about that. And I did a survey a couple months ago for the Squarespace template industry report, and I did
Mm.
offer a gift card with that, because I was like, what would I want on the other side of this stuff? I'm like, I would take a gift card to do the survey. So
Yeah.
that's what I offered.
Yeah.
So now that I'm thinking about it through what you just said again, I'm like, all right, so I should probably I should probably invest in getting some people to tell me what they think about some ideas that I've been sitting on for a long time. So thank you for that. I'm gonna take that. And then
You're very welcome.
and then the third ingredient, which is what this whole entire episode embodies, which is conversation. Um, because that's where you get the deepest insights. And then from that, the fourth ingredient, which you'll have to go to sqsp.guru to subscribe and find out what that fourth ingredient is. But I'll give you a little sneak peek in advance. The fourth ingredient is, well, what do you do once once you've started taking action and capturing these things that you do on a regular basis, and you've gone deep and you've had conversations. What do you do next? How do you cultivate that following in a way that you can monetize and collaborate with, so that you can chill at the end of the day. So anyway, Sam, this has been fun, man. We gotta do it more often.
I'm up for that. I'm up for that.
Anything you want to leave the audience with today?
I guess I would say if you want to learn a little bit more, you can go to sixfiguredesign.club and there'll be a pop-up if you just want to try it for free. There is a free version, so you'll get the entirety of module one, all for free, get some actionable insights. And if you do want
What?
to join, yeah, trying to give away some good free stuff. And if you did want to join, then you can sign up there and then. Also, I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and I've got a blog at Crawford.com. All the links to like all the socials are there as well. So if you want to catch up with me anywhere, you can find it there.
Yeah, I'm gonna sweeten up the pot a little bit, and I'm gonna put it at the beginning of the episode. But if you sign up for Six Figure Design Club, after listening to this, or yeah, at whatever point, I will also throw in a free coaching session, from me to you, to assist with putting some of what Sam has laid out into practice for your unique business in a way that works for you. And so all you have to do to claim that is to just send me an email and say, "Hey, I listened to the episode and I want to get that free coaching session." And we'll make it happen. So, Sam, thanks again for coming on. This has been fun. Like I said already, there's something else I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, the first module free. Oh man, that's that.
Yeah.
Like when I watched the first lesson, I was like, oh, this is fire right here. This is it right here. You can't watch this and then not immediately like get up, go get a client, and then and then get
Oh,
to
I
work.
love that. I love that. Well, that's the intention is that you sign up and you can get something tangible for free straight away. So, you know, yeah. Well, hopefully you can get some real value out of that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you exactly why. Before you do it, before you go sign up at Six Figure Design, is it dot club?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, sixfiguredesign.club. The first lesson is going to set you straight because Sam just lays out the truth. Like this is the bare truth of what you need to know in order to be successful with what we're about to undertake. And if you can accept those truths and abide by them, then following everything else will be, it'll all make sense and you will be well on your way to a six-figure design business.